Hey, it's NPR's Book of the Day. I'm Andrew Limbong. There's a lesson about being a big fish in a small pond in today's interview. It's with sports writer Christine Brennan about her new book, On Her Game, which is a look at Caitlin Clark's rise to stardom. I almost just said sports stardom there, but it's clear that she's broken out beyond sports, that she's a known figure even among non-sports fans. But there's a moment in her career that could have changed that trajectory. Brennan talks to NPR's Scott Simon about Clark almost going to Notre Dame for college instead of Iowa, and how that choice set her up for stardom. That's coming up.
This message comes from Amazon Pharmacy. Ever been so sick that thinking of going to the pharmacy made you more sick? With Amazon Pharmacy, meds are delivered fast, right to your door. You just have to make it to your door. Amazon. Healthcare just got less painful. This message comes from Capital One Commercial Bank. Your business requires commercial banking solutions that prioritize your long-term success. With Capital One, get a full suite of financial products and services tailored to meet your needs today and goals for tomorrow. Learn more at CapitalOne.com/commercial. Member FDIC.
Few names are bigger in sports today than Caitlin Clark. When she played in the 2024 NCAA Women's Final for her college team, the Iowa Hawkeyes, the ratings topped the men's final by 4 million viewers. Her regular season games with her pro team, the Indiana Fever, averaged more than 1 million viewers. Even fans who root for other teams thrilled to see Caitlin Clark's long, lofty three-point shots. Christine Brennan, the famed sports columnist for USA Today and a frequent commentator, has written a book that looks at the role Caitlin Clark now occupies in U.S. sports and culture. On Her Game, Caitlin Clark and the Revolution in Women's Sports. Christine Brennan joins us now. Christine, thanks so much for being with us.
Oh, my pleasure, Scott. Thanks for having me.
So Caitlin Clark had to join a boys' team at first to play basketball?
Exactly. And of course, that tells you that where we are now with women's sports, we weren't there even in her lifetime. But it helped her because she played against the boys for quite a while. And as her AAU coach told me in the book, boys can be tougher, bigger. As he said, they're meaner. And they toughened Caitlin Clark up and helped her on her way.
Tell us about a call her parents got from school officials in St. Francis of Assisi in West Des Moines, Iowa, with concerns the teachers had about young Caitlin.
So we know that people get calls and parents all the time about grades or a kid behaving in history class or English or whatever, but it's pretty rare when they're calling about the child's behavior at recess. And that's young Caitlin Clark being too aggressive, being too competitive. As she has said many times now as an adult, she wants to win at everything. Boys, girls, nothing fazed her, confidence galore, even at a very young age. And yeah, she was being told she was being too competitive. Stop beating everybody on the playground.
She got lots of offers from big-name basketball schools coming out of West Des Moines, but you conclude she made a wise decision to stay in Iowa. How so?
Absolutely. I quote Muffet McGraw, the famed Notre Dame coach, who actually thought she had her. It was a soft commitment that Caitlin Clark said she was coming to Notre Dame, and then she changed her mind. And Muffet McGraw said, had she come to Notre Dame, it would have been a better team, more talented players, because Muffet and Notre Dame were often at the upper echelon of women's basketball and in the Final Four, winning a couple national titles. Well, Caitlin Clark, chucking it from the parking lot and it's going in, just the amazing high wire act that is Caitlin Clark, that wouldn't have been allowed at Notre Dame because there would have been other players. You would pass the ball. You're part of the overall machinery of the offense, but you are not the star of that. You're not the most important cog. You're just, one piece of it. So the fact she went to Iowa, a very good program. They hadn't been into the Women's Final Four in a long time, but Coach Lisa Bluter let Caitlin Clark be Caitlin Clark. And that meant all the entertaining, amazing shots that Americans fell in love with.
Can we use Caitlin Clark's rise as a measure of the influence of Title IX that mandated equality for women's sports in schools?
Absolutely. For generations, we were telling our daughters, our nieces, our granddaughters, no, you cannot play sports. You cannot learn those life lessons, winning, losing at a young age, teamwork, sportsmanship. And Title IX, this law that mandates equity and equality for women in high school, college sports, it's of course a law, but it's also a mindset. And to me, that's even more important, where you expect that your daughter's going to have opportunities. That girl you see in the kitchen every morning, or the girl you wave at from the driveway who's got her bag with her volleyball gear or softball gear in it as she goes off to another game, that doesn't surprise us. And 50 years ago, you never saw that. And if you did, you wondered what was going on. What's that girl doing? This is that continuation of not just a sports story, Scott, but truly an American cultural story.
Christine, some people do seem to resent Caitlin Clark's success. Would that be a fair way to put it?
We've certainly seen that, unfortunately. There was, I think, anger, resentment. Why does she get to do this? It's a 74% Black league. That is understandable in our racially polarized society. A white woman from Iowa coming in and being the star of a league that never got the attention it deserved. And now this is the one. Of course, as someone who's covered this, the WNBA, back to the 90s, you know that spotlight that is shining on Caitlin Clark now also shines on all those players who deserve the attention that they never got, but they are getting it now. And that certainly is the positive in a conversation that I think will be ongoing as the WNBA works through this.
And I thought when Caitlin Clark made a surprise appearance on Saturday Night Live, she was very pointed and moving about the feeling of gratitude and debt that she felt she owed.
Yes, she was. After the requisite jokes with the Weekend Update people, then she went into a wonderful little thank you, praising and thanking several players for being her role models and paving the way and opening the door for her. And all of those women that she mentioned were Black, including the great Maya Moore, who was her hero. And when she was a little girl in Iowa, her dad drove her up 3.5 hours to Minneapolis. And Caitlin Clark broke away from her dad to hug Maya Moore. And of course, they have now replicated that hug several times as Caitlin has become the superstar. And Maya Moore says, "I can't believe that one of the little kids who hugged me turned out to be Caitlin Clark."
Christine, how do we explain that Caitlin Clark's salary to play for the Indiana Fever is reportedly just $78,000, though her endorsement deal for Nike is, I guess, reportedly worth $28 million. And, of course, rookies in the NBA routinely make tens of millions of dollars.
Well, capitalism. When this story broke, when people were looking at her salary and the top pick in the NBA draft, $57 million. So there's a long way to go. But for years, people were ignoring the WNBA. I mean, as I said to folks then, did you buy any tickets? Did you ever watch a game? Did you buy a jersey of a player? Did you take your granddaughter, your niece to a game? And the answer usually was no, because most Americans weren't paying any attention to the WNBA. The income, the interest, the TV dollars. Now, they do have a new TV contract that is 4 times the value of what they've previously had. So the money is starting to come in. The salaries will rise. I would love to say they'll someday be equal, but Scott, you and I will certainly not live to see that day, no matter if we make it to 110, I think, just because the disparity is so great. But moving in the right direction, I think, is also a victory of sorts.
Does the success of Caitlin Clark help women athletes in all sports?
Absolutely, it does, Scott. When you have guys who would never give the time of day to women's sports, who would go on sports talk shows and laugh about women's basketball or other women's sports, well, those guys that 25, 30 years ago were laughing about women's basketball, college or pro, those are the guys now that are proudly wearing their number 22 jerseys, not only to games, but also to the grocery store and the gas station. It's the holdouts, right? It's maybe some of the guys who, a little bit sexist or a lot sexist, who just didn't think it matched up. The women don't dunk. That was a conversation always. They're playing below the rim. Why would anyone watch this compared to men's basketball? Well, now we have our answer. Again, the eyeball she gets, then everyone sees the WNBA. And those players that never got the attention they deserve are finally getting it. And other women's sports as well, which are exploding. Women's pro hockey, women's pro softball, women's pro lacrosse, in addition to the more traditional women's sports and the Olympic sports. I do think there's a greater respect every day because Caitlin Clark is able to nail those logo threes and bring more people who didn't like women's sports now into the arena.
Christine Brennan, her new book on the Caitlin Clark explosion, On Her Game. Thanks so much for being with us.
Scott, thank you very much.
Support for NPR and the following message come from IXL Learning. IXL Learning uses advanced algorithms to give the right help to each kid no matter the age or personality. Get an exclusive 20% off IXL membership when you sign up today at IXL.com/NPR. This message comes from Homes.com. When you're shopping for a home, you want to know as much about the area around it as possible. Homes.com has got you covered with a comprehensive neighborhood guide from local experts. Homes.com. We've done your homework.
This message comes from Strawberry.me. You've worked hard to get where you are, but what's next? Strawberry.me Career Coaching helps professionals like you take the next big step with confidence by matching you with a certified career coach who understands your goals and challenges. This isn't just advice, it's a personalized, results-driven approach to uncover hidden strengths, overcome obstacles, and accelerate your career growth. Visit strawberry.me/NPR to claim your $50 credit.